Welcome to the next episode of With Purpose. My name is Ben Hutton, and you are here for the podcast where we take a little bit of time to learn, reflect, and then plan the week ahead so that the tasks and projects that we invest our time in are the right ones, and we're doing it all with purpose. Today, we are going to be talking about AI. It's something popular to talk about right now. Lots of change happening almost weekly. It was daily for a while. It seems like it's slowed down just a little bit, but this is going to be a big deal for the years to come. And so I want to talk about, what does AI look like for you and your organization? Not from a very service level, but what's it look like in terms of changing what you do 2, 3, 4 years from now? Linked with this podcast, there's the planner that we'll use at the end. Make sure you hit up the show notes and check that out at the right time. But for now, let's talk about AI. AI is interesting. It has so much potential to do great things for us, for our roles, for our community. But that same potential exists for it to go the complete opposite direction. I don't know if you saw the study that came out recently that MIT did, but they studied like 1,000 people who were using AI for tasks, and they divided them in a couple groups, some that used it first, some that used it in the middle of their sessions or brainstorming process, and others that didn't get to use it at all. And what did they find? AI, when we use it wrong, it actually makes us dumber. So it took their brain function down significantly, like tens and 20s and 30s of digits of less activity or thinking. We are outsourcing this creative process from our brain, and it is making us stupider. So we got to think very carefully about how we engage with this technology, because I think we have to engage with it. This is not something we get to ignore either for ourselves or for our organizations, but doing it the right way, using it in a way that is productive for us as people, as humans with brains, and as society is really important. So how do we do that? How do we engage with AI in a way that's helpful and productive without actually making us, quite frankly, dumber? I think the first thing we have to do is make sure it's not the first thing we turn to. So don't outsource your creative thinking to AI. Don't outsource the inputs to your work process to AI. Start with your own self first and then turn to it. Use AI to broaden your thinking, to help refine your thinking, but don't use AI to do your thinking. So as you begin to use AI as your thought partner, really intentional thought partner, you're going to begin to see more and more use cases for it in your life, whether that's at home or at work. This is the next challenge. Try and think about using AI in a way that will endure and be impactful 2 and 5 years from now in your role, and not ways that are just novel or fun today. So it's really great. We've all used it to make lists of funny names for a group that we're joining, or create a picture of a cat walking down an alley with a dog holding hands. It can do those things, and that's fun and novel. But that's not where the power of AI exists. The power exists when we use it to help amplify our thinking, challenge our thinking, take us outside of the box, potentially automate some of the rote tasks that we have to do at work. These are things that are a lot more complex than just make me a list of patriotic themed hot dogs. Which I did once, and it was really actually pretty funny. So recommended. But you have to really think about, how am I going to be using this 2 and 5 years from now? How it will impact my team and my role and my job and our organization? How is it going to impact the processes that we have? How is it going to impact customer expectations? Try and think about this, not in what cool new thing can it do today, but what will it change for me years from now? So when you think about how will this change things 2 and 5 years from now, you're going to begin to develop a different list of things AI might be able to help you with than that initial one you thought of just a few minutes ago when we were talking about the hot dogs. You are going to think about things that are a lot more complex, but maybe a lot more meaningful in terms of time savings, in terms of improving the processes in your organization, in terms of improving the work product or output that you have as a creative person. AI can be a really powerful tool if we use it right. But these big things, they are risky to try. And so what we want to talk about or what we want to think about is how do we establish or set up AI experiments for these small things. We don't want to dive in. We don't want to totally replace lock, stock, and barrel a process that we know works. We don't want to use it to impact the life of a person or a customer in a way that could be detrimental without knowing if this is going to work or how it's going to go. And so we want to think about these things in terms of experiments. So that's what I've been doing. I've been thinking about experiments for my own organization. That's what I want to challenge you to do, to think about experiments inside your organization. So that's enough about AI for today. I'm sure that we'll be talking about this a lot over the coming years, but for today, let's call it good. Let's dive into our planning for the week ahead. As always, we are starting with gratitude. You know, my last week was a tough one. And when I sat down to do my planning for this week, I was not super excited about it. But even during a really tough week, I found a few things to be grateful for. Maybe the same thing is true for you. So take a minute, think back through your days, maybe even look at your calendar and remember those moments that got hidden between all of the crap that happened, and identify a few moments of joy or things that you're grateful for. As a reminder, we have a special planner for each of our episodes available for you to download, either linked in the show notes or available on my website at benhutton.com. For each of these questions, we are going to give you about 30 seconds to process them. If you need some more time, just hit the pause button. And speaking of that crap, there's a few things that you put off last week that you needed to do. You know it, and I know it. Write them down and commit to get them done and get them out of your mind before we think about what's next for the rest of the week. Okay, let's reflect a little bit on what we learned about AI. It's making us dumber, or can, if we don't use it correctly. And we talked about how we're going to use it correctly in terms of using it to help us brainstorm, not outsourcing our brainstorming or creative processes to it. And then we also talked about experiments, and that's really what the questions are about for you to reflect on this week. So first question, which aspects of your industry or job function do you think will be most transformed by AI over the next 3 years? Second question, after you've thought about what's AI going to do for your industry 3 years from now, think about this. What is an experiment you can do this week that in a very small way tests if that's possible yet? Maybe it already can. All right, that's it for this episode of With Purpose. I hope you take a moment and go through that big pile of to-dos that you've collected over this last week. Look at your calendar ahead and plan the rest of your time this week and next week, all with purpose. Make sure you're investing your time and resources, your scarce resource of attention, into the right things that truly matter. I also hope you'll join me when we're right back here a week from today on the next episode of With Purpose. I could be like David Letterman and throw pens. So that's enough for today.